Hey Internet, it's me. I'm back with another Halloween horror movie festival marathon thing. Yeah. Anywho, the first movie, tonight's movie, because this is the first and that's how time works, is Night of the Demons, a movie from 2009 starring a bunch of people I've never heard of and also Shannon Elizabeth. It's not a great movie. Um, I I don't know where to start with this one. I want to give them props for the things they did well, because I don't want any of these reviews just be 100% shitting on a movie. So I guess let me start with some of the positives. The makeup and the practical effects and like the rubber suits and everything they did looked incredible. You know, all the monsters or creatures or whatever looked great. Definitely a big fan of those. I'm pretty sure most of them were practical effects. They looked like they were, so I love that. All the blood effects and the hands coming through the mirror in the wall and just all the different, those kinds of things looked great. So definitely a fan. Um, that might be where the positives end. Uh, the soundtrack was good. They had some good like rock metal music. It was somewhat generic, but it was good. And the music always fit the mood. It always, came on when there was like an intense party scene or when there was like a big fight scene. So the music was good too. I guess the cinematography wasn't bad. Everything was lit well, shot from good angles. The sets all looked interesting. Like a lot of the technical stuff was all great. The problems mainly were the writing and the acting and just the overall story, because those were all garbage. The actor I hated the most was I looked up the actor's name and I've already forgotten it. But the guy who plays the character Colin. I don't know if this actor is necessarily a bad actor, but he was in this movie. Every line he delivered was just very unconvincing. Like he didn't even believe what he was saying, because that's what unconvincing means. And just even Shannon Elizabeth, who, I mean, this was 2009. This movie came out, so she had been in big things by then. She had been in American Pie by then. Like people knew her name. She was a well-known actor, at least fairly so, and I don't know, she wasn't great in this either. No one really was. And part of that might be the writing, because the story was very trite and weird. Just everything was very cliche, and you kind of knew what was coming. Maybe not the twist at the end. Like, you knew what was happening in the ending, but then the last, 20 seconds, you maybe didn't see that little twist. So, that was cool. But everything up to that, it was just, there was a lot of predictable nonsense. A lot of horror movie cliches just being done that we've seen a million times. A lot of the lines that were delivered were really stupid. There was one part where the characters realized that rusted metal would affect the demons that they were facing in a negative way. And so they're talking about it, and one of them was like, well, that doesn't really make sense. And the other one's like, no, it makes perfect sense. Because demons are made of ancient materials, and iron is an ancient material, and rust corrupts iron, so it would hurt them. And all of that is stupid. First of all, demons aren't of Earth. Suspension of disbelief here, let's pretend you believe in demons. Demons aren't of Earth. They're from a completely different plane of existence, known as Hell. So, they're not made of the same stuff that Earth is made out of. Secondly, rust doesn't corrupt iron. It's not something that is put on iron to corrupt it. Rust is what happens when oxygen mixes with iron and it becomes over-oxidized and it corrodes, which is not the same as corrupt. And just, no, none of that made sense. It was written poorly. It was really stupid. It was dumb when they delivered the lines, and it's dumb the more you think about it. And there's a lot of little stuff like that where people would say things that were just stupid. At one point, a bunch of runes were being removed from a wall because blood was washing down the walls, and the character's like, oh, we have to redraw these symbols. The characters had looked at that wall for maybe 15 minutes at that point. They wouldn't know how to recreate every glyph and rune that was there. So, no, that's dumb. I don't know. All of it was really stupid. It was very contrived. I didn't like it. No, it felt weird. Like, it felt like a lot of the plot points were thrown in because they had written X of the plot and needed it to go forward, but didn't actually have a vehicle for that movement, so they just kind of forced things in there awkwardly to make it happen, but none of it felt right or natural in the world. See, I didn't like the story at all. It just, I don't know, it wasn't very good to me. The other thing, too, is that the pacing in this movie was just very slow. It was very slow to start while they were trying to like introduce the various characters. They gave the Colin one that I don't like some unnecessary backstory where he owes money to like this gangster loan shark mafioso whatever, and the guy's like threatening to kill him unless he sells all his drugs in the right amount of time for the right amount of money, and it was just completely unnecessary for what's essentially going to be a haunted house movie. Like you didn't need any of that. Like, the girls getting ready for the party at the haunted house, that made sense. But why this guy needed this whole backstory to get him there, like, he could have just been another party goer. It felt more like padding the runtime than it did developing the character. And I say that because his backstory and his background was never really brought up in a meaningful way. Like, right at the very end, he kind of throws out that, oh man, if I don't get this guy his money, he's going to kill me, so either way, I'm going to die. But it never seemed like that was a motivator for him up until that point. So for him to throw it out there then just didn't really, I don't know, it didn't make a lot of sense. And then the other character that he said it to didn't even react to his statement, the fact that, hey, I'm going to die because I owe this guy money or whatever. They just basically said, well, why do you keep talking about you? Everyone's dying and there are demons. Which, valid point. But it was just, I don't know. It was unnecessary B-plot that was definitely just there to fill out time and didn't actually add anything to the movie. So, yeah, I don't know. Overall, I just think the movie had a lot of bad writing and, if not bad acting, at least bad delivery of the bad writing. And it wasn't great. You know, there wasn't enough action or suspense to carry you through the slow bits, and there wasn't enough spectacle to make you able to overlook the terrible lines in the bad writing. So yeah, it's not fun is the main thing. Like, I can be on board with a bad movie if it's still fun to watch. If there's some element of it that it draws you in regardless of how bad it is. This didn't have that. There was nothing here that just felt fun that I was really enjoying or engaged with. This was just a very bland movie that I was just slogging through because it was on this list and I had to watch it. But it's definitely not one I'll ever watch again. So, take that how you will. You know, if you really just have it set in your mind that you're going to watch this movie no matter what, I guess you do you. But for anyone that has never heard of this movie or is on the fence about watching this movie for some reason or whatever the case is, you can go ahead and skip this one. You're not missing anything worthwhile. It's just not great. And that's it. So I'll see you tomorrow for another movie!